Hello guys, welcome back to the channel and to this unboxing video for the Westland Lysander in 1/48 scale from Airfix. Okay, so let's start with the box art. Yeah, great box art as normal. Okay, so you can see you got your mountains here, and you got your Scottish look because it looks as if it's flying over Scotland somewhere. You got, so that's that one. Okay, here on this long edge here, you've got a little bit of information there. Okay, and you've also got your two color schemes. There we go. Right, got your two color schemes. You've also got your paints and your flying hours as well. So the flying hours will be coming off as well. And on this long edge here, you've got your warnings in different languages. Okay, and you've got the box art on both short edges. Okay, right, let's have a look at see what we got in the box. Okay, now I've already cut the tabs off. Okay, so all right, I've done that off camera. Okay, and we have 1, 2, 3 bags of grey plastic sprues. Okay, you've also got in this top one here, you've got your clear parts as well, so they're in a separate bag. Let's get them out of the way. You've got your instructions. And if we just open it up here, you've got your decals, and you've got your colour schemes. Okay. Okay, so let's have a look at the colour scheme first. Okay. You got your A scheme here, which is of number 16 Squadron at RAF Old Sarum, Salisbury, in Wiltshire, England, 1938 to 1939. So you got your standard RAF camouflage on the top, and then you got a sort of, well, it's not a kaleidoscope, but you got your different. You've got your black wing on one side, and you've got your white wing on the other, and the underside of the tail flaps, they're in white as well. So I probably won't go for this one actually, because that's the A scheme, and so you got your B scheme here at number 309. Polish Fighter Reconnaissance Squadron, Royal Air Force, Renfrew, Glasgow, Scotland, 1940. Okay, and he's telling you to use number 11 silver, 24 matte yellow, 29 matte dark earth, number 30 dark green, number 33 matte black, 53 gunmetal, and number 90 beige green. Approximately supposed to be approximately sky, but I do have that. I do have this one in I do have this one in the spray can. Okay, so I don't even know if I'll do this one either, but because what I really want to do is to go and do those ones that are in a sort of a all black one. Okay, but we'll see what the parts are in the bag. Okay, and you got your decals here as well. So there we go. Right. Okay, so I will be back in a bit and we'll have a look at the instructions. Okay, instructions. You've got your standard A4 booklet. You got your bits of bits of information here in English, French, German, Spanish, and Swedish. Okay. You got your spec here as well. Total wingspan of the model is 316 millimeters. For the fuselage, and fuselage length is 192 millimeters, and 2 decal schemes are included. Okay, you got your specifications here down on this side as well. Okay, and you got your bits, you got your parts here. You got your bit of bump that says surfaces to be painted should be clean before parts are removed from the sprue. Wash in warm soapy water. Okay. And also please note that some parts in the kit may not be required to build the model specified. Okay. Assembly instructions, again, you got the different languages here. You got some English, French, German, Spanish, Swedish, Dutch, Polish, Italian, Portuguese, I think that's Greek, Finnish, and Danish as well. So Airfix would like to thank Ed Russell, Tony O'Toole, and the RAF Museum at Hendon, and Bristol Aerospace for their kind assistance in the development of this model. Okay, so right, so let's have a look at the instructions in general. Okay. Step 1, we're putting the fuel. So steps 1, 2, and 3, we're putting the fuel tank together. Okay, so we're not starting with the cockpit. Okay, and in steps 4 and 5, we're attaching that to the pretty much the bottom of the frame of the aircraft. Okay, and then in step 6. And then in step 6, you've got you're putting I think this might be for the navigate. It's a spare seat, so okay. Again, you're putting continuing on with the frame on page 3. So page 4, we are pretty much coming on to the cockpit now, so in this one. Okay, so step 12, we're also putting the last of the frame together, and then we definitely move on to the cockpit, I think. Okay, so there we go. And now you can do this without the pilot, with or without the pilot. Might actually do it. I think might actually do it with the pilot in. Might actually do it with the pilot in, I think. So there we go. Okay, so there we go. So that's steps 18 and 19. Step 20, we're putting in the pilot seat. Okay, with pilot as well. So there we go. That's that. And then step 21, we're putting this part on here, this C17. So that, I think that covers the engine. I think that's the bit that's the engine firewall, I think. And then in step 20, we're putting part D39 on. Okay, so that's okay. But again, but where the question mark is, you get the choice of you get the choice of whether if you want to put it in or not. Okay, so that is if you're doing the A scheme. Okay. Okay, and it's the same with step 23. With 24, if you're doing B scheme, you do step 24. So step 25 there, you're putting in the control column, the control stick, sorry. And then you're putting in the control panel. Yeah, flight instrument panel in as well. So there we go. That's that one. If you're moving on to step 28, you remove, if you're doing the A scheme, you remove this little bit here. Okay, so if I was just going to get this little part here. Okay. Well, I think I might actually do the B scheme. I think so. Okay. So in step 30, again, you remove this part. If you're doing the A scheme. Okay, and so then, so with step 31, you're putting in this little bit here, part D2, and then if you step 32, if you're doing the B scheme, you need to drill a hole out, and you need to do it at a 50-degree angle. And then step 33, you're putting one half the fuselage on. To the yeah, you're putting on one half of the fuselage to the frame. Okay, and then in step 34, you're putting on the other side of the fuselage. Okay, and then you put this top bit on. And then you put this top bit on for step 35. Okay, and then you put on, you put this part, you put F17 on, but if you're doing the A scheme, you put in E49 as well. But if you're doing the B scheme, you put D36 on, and it tells you see step 107 on page 15. Okay. And then for steps 37 through to, So 37 and 38, you put these two parts on, and then in step 39 you put your tail flaps. You put your tail flaps in. And then in step 41 you put the tail flaps on. So again you get a choice. Of where you so I'm assuming that it says it only apply glue to the highlighted area shown here. So if you want to put it in the takeoff and landing position, this is what you want to do. Okay. And then in step 43, you're putting the rudder on. Now, here's where it gets. This is where it gets interesting a bit here. You've got different sets of spats. Okay. So if you're doing the A scheme, you go step 44 through to step 46. Okay, and it depends on whether if you want and then it depends on whether if you want, but we'll so it says here, cut this notch out and then refer to step 46. Okay, so basically so that's the port assembly. Okay, so you got your A scheme at the top, B scheme at the bottom, and it's the same for step 47 as well, because all right. Okay, so you got A scheme at the top, B scheme at the bottom. Okay. And then step 50, if you're doing the A scheme, you leave off this part here. But if you're doing the B scheme, you put that on. Okay. Step 51, you're putting your two wheels together. Okay. So if you're doing the B scheme, so if you're doing the A scheme, you put these two parts in. And you build it in, and you put it in sequence. All right. And then, but if you're doing it in the B scheme, you put this part in the C34. Okay, and then you build it in sequence. Okay, so E34 and then E37. Right. So there you go. Well, there's that done. Then step 53, you got for the starboard assembly. Again, same parts. And it's just repeating what was already said on the previous page. Okay, and then we move on to step 55. So you're putting the wheels on here. Okay. and then in step 56 you're putting on one of the clear parts, and then and you also got these coverings over here as well, so you can, but that's for the A scheme only. Okay, so if you're doing the B scheme, you don't bother putting these on. And it's the same here for the for the other side. And then for step 58, you're putting in the rear landing wheel, the tail wheel, and then in 59 you're putting in some sort of you're putting in part D62. So I don't know if that. It's obviously something to do with the cockpits anyway, so you've got to put that in there. And then step 60, you're putting in the pilot. You're putting in the pilot. And so you've got an opportunity to stick him all together and put it and then so you got the opportunity to go and stick him all together and put him in the get him all painted up and then stick him in the cockpit. So again, that's where my AK quick colours will come in very handy. Okay, so there we go. So that's the pilot. So as I say, you're putting him in there. It depends on whether if you want to put the pilots in. I mean, I think because I think it'll bring the model to life. Really, I mean, if you put the pilot in. Okay, so there we go. And in step 62, you're putting in the rear gunner. Okay, but so you're doing the rear gunner. So if you're doing the A scheme, you put the single. You put the single gun in, and if you're doing the B scheme, you do the double one. Okay, so there we go. So there we go. Right. Okay. So then you're putting in the rear gunner there, and it goes into that gap there. Okay, and it tells you how it should look when he's been put in. And then step 64. Again, you got the choice of okay. You've got the choice of guns to put in whatever scheme you're doing. Okay, and then you're coming onto your clear parts in step 65. Put your clear parts in, and there is a masking set for this. Okay, and so we probably might do the masking when we come to do this step. Okay, but we'll see how we get on. Okay, and it's also a note here that when assembling this model with the rear canopy open, fit the gun options at the end of the build. With different gun mounts, refer to step 118 on page 16. Okay. And so here we go. These are the clear parts now. And as I say, there's a masking set to go with this. So you get the choice of having the canopy Mark 1 closed. So if you're doing the A scheme, you've got the choice of having so it's pretty much the same all down this page. You can either have the canopy closed or the canopy open. Okay, so but we'll see how we get on. Okay, so there we go. That's the option, different options there for the canopy. All right, and then we come on to step 72, 73, 74. Okay, so you're putting in these two little clear parts here, and there's one there that goes on the underside. And then, so this is the port wing. You're actually drilling in a hole here. It's a 1mm drill bit. Okay, so you'll need that. And it refers to step 117 on page 16. And then in step 76, you're doing the same thing for the starboard side. And then step 77 and 78, these both go together. Okay. Step 79, you're putting in your flaps. Okay, so you got the choice of either having them down or having them up. Okay, and it's the same as step 80 as well. Then step 81, you go back to the part. You go back to the port assembly, and then you stick this clear part in here. And it's the same. You stick the clear part in on the end there on the starboard side. Okay, and then step 83, you're putting it in. Well, either this part here, D61 or D60 for the B scheme. And then in 84, you're sticking on step C22. Okay, and that goes on the underside of the wing. And then it's the same thing again on the starboard side. And then that, in step 86, it goes all together. Okay, it should go together. Right. Okay, so we've got template there. So it looks as if you've got to cut out the template using a 0.7mm drill. But that's only that's only if you're doing the A scheme. All right. Okay, and then step 88, you're putting in you're putting on your wings, and so on and so forth. All right. Step 90. Okay, on page 14, you're doing your engine bit. You're doing your engine bits, and so on. And then that goes on the front. Yeah, and then you also put your propeller on. And then on page 15 you put your bombs in, if you're having bombs, which probably I might do. Okay. And they go on the underside of the aircraft as well. And then in step 113, you got this long bit here that goes on underneath. And then on page 16, this is the last page, you just go according to whatever colours, whatever scheme you're doing. Here you got your small bits really. You got your small bits, and here's what it says. If you're having the canopy open, you put the guns in last. Okay. Okay, and that is it. So that's that out of the way. Okay, so I'll be back in a bit. Okay, before we open up the bag, sorry, let's have a look at the decals. Okay, so if we just move in close, look at that, they're really crisp. And you get the choice of maps here as well. So that's good. Really nice and crisp. You can tell that because they're done by cartograph. Those are the common decals. Now, here we go. If we're coming on to, these are the ones for, number 16 squadron. Okay, and the ones that we're coming on to now, these are really crisp, but okay. So there we go. This is number 309 Polish Squadron. Look at that. I really like these. So yeah, these are for the Polish squadron. Okay, and there we go. And that is your decals. Okay, let's have a look at the frames now, shall we? Okay, now this is a part I really like about doing an unboxing video, because you get to hear this kind of sound like music. There we go. Look at that. Okay, you got your bag of clear parts. Let's get these up. Let's get this out of the way. So let's have a look at the bag of clear parts, shall we? This is your frame X. Okay, these are the clear frame. Look at that. Look at that, I really like this. Okay, as I say, there's a masking set to go over these as well, which I have got. Okay, and I'll show you those a bit later on. Okay, right, but apart from that, this is the these are the clear parts, and I really like these. Okay, so put them in the back, put them back in their bag, so as not to damage them. Okay, there we go. Okay, so what we got here is frame A. You've got your fuselage here. You got your underside of the carriage fuselage here as well. You got both halves of the fuselage as well. You got your flaps, and you got your little ribs pieces here as well, but they look alright. And I think this is also to do with the rudder. I think maybe, is it? Yeah. So have a look on the on the inside. You've got some ejector pin marks here, so they look as if they could do with a bit of filling. Okay, especially here where it's all going to get seen. Okay, so and it's the same on it's the same on this side as well. Yeah, but these I wouldn't worry about because they're not going to get seen anyway. Okay, so that's frame A out the way. Frame B, these are your wings. Okay, again you got your flaps. You got flaps here as well. So, and you got your fittings here, your locator points for your wing spars. Okay, there you go, but they are okay. So that's that out of the way, and so we can put that back in the bag as well. So there we go, that's that. Okay, so we're into this bag now. And we've got frames C and D. So this is all to do with the inner frame. So this is what you'll be building first. Okay, you got a bit, see your fuel tank. So you got your frame here. Okay. Okay, so you got your wing spars here. These are wing spars or wing supports to help with supporting the wings, because the wing the wings are actually high wings anyway. So yeah, you got your fuel tank there as well. There you go. So that's frame C. Frame D. This is the one that's got the pilots. This is the one that's got the pilots and the rear gunner on it. Okay. Got your control panel there. You got your pilot seats and your rear gunner seats as well. Let's just bring these up a bit, shall we? And then we can get you have a real good proper look. Okay, so that's frame D. Put these in. So that's that one out of the way. Now we've got one more bag to open up, and that's this one here. Airfix have really gone to town on the plastic bag. And this is the one that's got the engine in it. Okay, engine and wheels and spats, and this is frame E. So let's have a look at the engine, shall we? There we go, look at that. Got your spats there coming up, so there we go. All right, okay, so can't see any. Yeah, I've got some ejector pin marks on the wheel spat coverings. Okay, so there we go. So that's the engine. That's the frame. That's frame E. Okay, and that is pretty much it. Okay, so I will be back in a bit. Well, that's it for this video, guys. Thanks ever so much for watching. Really looking forward to building the Lysander and so on and so forth. So yeah. Really looking forward to building it, really, and back into my comfort zone as well. Okay. As I say, I do have a masking set to go over the cover, to go over the clear parts, and so we will well, when we come to it, we'll put those on. So there you have it. So basically, if you've liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Why don't you comment, subscribe and share please as well? That would be great. And also yes, so yes, share the video amongst your friends and so on and so forth. But in the meantime, guys, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you on Sunday for the first part, which will be putting together the mainframe. Okay, see you soon. Bye bye.